Hey guys, welcome to the channel. So today we've bought ourselves a little XR200 and it's not running, so we're going to try and get it running. So I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown on what I've actually checked before we get to where we're actually going. So first things we've done, we've got three main components to get a motorbike running. So 1, compression, 2, fuel, 3, spark. So if you're missing any three of them, we're in trouble. So first thing I did was I went ahead, pulled the spark plug out, grabbed the spark plug lead, arced it out on the head, checked for spark. And as you can see, we got plenty of spark there. So next thing we did was went and got a compression tester, checked the compression, which was super low. So after that, what we did was we dropped off the valve covers here, took it to top dead center. For any of you that don't know how to get the bike to top dead center, first of all, inside this port here, there's a little couple of timing marks on top of the flywheel. You bring that to the top, and then up here you've got this mark here which aligns here, which then tells you your timing should be right. And if you want to double check it, just get something nice and thin, put it down your top of your head, and you should feel the piston there. And you can even double check it just by lowering your piston down and bringing it back up, and you'll feel that rod coming up, getting pushed up as the top of the piston, and you'll feel the point where it stops and then comes back down, and you know that's the top peak is the top dead center. We've got our motor in top dead center. Went and checked our valves. They were a little bit out, so I adjusted them, checked it again, still no compression. So at this point we were pretty certain it's going to be compression. So the next thing I did was dropped off the exhaust pipe, took the spark plug out, chucked a little bit of air start down the plug hole, put the plug back in, give it a bit of a kick just to test that theory, because remember the three components: fuel, spark and compression. So we've worked out that compression isn't there, but I just wanted to double the theory on fuel. So we chucked a bit of fuel down the spark plug, locked her up, give her a kick, still nothing. And then just last of all, you can see inside the exhaust port there, had a look in there, lowered the exhaust port, and it does look like there's a fair bit of carbon build-up on the exhaust valve, which could be causing us a bit of trouble, because if that's not sealing properly, we're not going to get our compression. But also just sprayed a little bit of air start down inside the exhaust valve while it was open, give it a bit of a kick. We did get a bit of a flame backfire out of it, but other than that, nothing. So the next stage, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rip this top end off, check out the condition of the piston, the bores and the valves, and see where we go from there. To get to this component, we're going to have to move this engine bracket here. We're going to have to take off this side cover here. I suppose we're probably going to have to take off the rocker cover as well. So we'll remove all this, get everything exposed, then we should be able to remove the cam out of the way, get our cam chain, lean that to the side, pull everything up, should be able to expose everything. To remove the CDI unit, we had this 10mm bolt here. We just had to give it a slight shock just to get it around, start undoing that. Undo that, and you've got two 8mm bolts here. Pull that all out, and then I've just hung it up here nice and out of the way, and get a rag and wrap that up, so we're all good. Stage, we've got the cam chain exposed, as you can see there. Now we want to loosen that off, so what I found was this little rubber lug here. Now I haven't worked on one of these ones before. Underneath it looks a bit average, but what we've got, looks like we've got the tensioner bolt, and then we've got the actual tensioner itself. So I'm assuming if we unscrew that, that should come out. That'll relieve off the chain sliders inside the motor and should allow that chain to go slack. So we're going to go and grab a spanner, undo that, see what happens. Alright, there is another bit of rod or something in there that doesn't seem to be coming out, but our chain is slacked off. So we're going to leave it at that for now and take care of the rest of this, get this head off so we can start looking at the size of the piston, organising what we need. Right, we just removed the carby out of the way. Next thing we've got is this decompression lever here, which we're going to unbolt here, try and get it out of the cable there, and then we'll just strap it back onto the frame here somewhere. Alright, so now pretty much everything's detached from the top end. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to undo the rocker cover bolts and undo the head bolts, remove the rocker cover, and then we can move on from there. Not quite as I planned. Rocker cover off, went to lift up, hits frame, so motor's coming out. Just had an engine mount we've taken out from here, taken a mounting bolt that goes through here with a spacer, so we've removed that, I believe we've got one more mount down here in behind this bash plate. Remove that bash plate, remove the clutch cable, remove the chain, and we should be all go. Pull it on out. Alright guys, so all the engine mounts are out, everything's out. We've got the wiring loom that just goes from up here into here on the top of the loom there, so that's disconnected. We've disconnected the breather pipe from back here, and we had one last engine mount back here hidden away, so just check that out if you're doing this, because I didn't realise it was there. Went to pull the motor and it didn't work. So now we're going to go, fingers crossed, we should be able to just lift this motor straight up, out, fingers crossed, no troubles. Alright guys, so with the cam chain here, we're just going to allow that to just drop inside into the slot. That's just going to sit in the crankcase for now. Not too fussed, because we are going to be resetting the timing when we put it all back together anyway. And when we come to need it, we'll just pull it up with a magnet and we'll be all sweet. So just going to drop that in there, no dramas. Going to disconnect this bolt here from the cylinder. And we've got this bolt here that goes into the cam chain guide there. So we're going to release that, and then hopefully we should be able to pull the head off, and then the cylinder will come off separately. Okay, from this point we should be right to split the cylinder and the head. So you'll probably have a couple of dowels in here that are going to be pretty tight. So sometimes just don't go silly on it. Just a nice light tap just to help them dowels disengage. There we go. Off she comes. This piston doesn't look all really that old. It's okay, we've got the size that we need, so we're going to pull the cylinder off, have a look at the cylinder now, see what we're looking into. Oh, something in there. Okay. Not so flash. She's a little bit average. Might be a hone and a new piston and rings. Yeah, she shagged. One little trick, if you're ever doing gudgeon pin, before you take the circlip out, put a rag in the crank and in here, so if the clip flicks out, it doesn't drop straight down in there, cause you a pain. Just catch on the rag and out it will come. Pretty radical scratches in there. Seen better days. Alright, so now we're going to have to go and source some parts, see what we can get, what we need. Decide whether it's cheaper to buy a whole another cylinder and get the piston kit. We'll go a size up on the piston and we can bore this out and hone it out to suit. And then we'll be back. Still a few scuffs, but overall she's coming up not too badly. So we're going to keep going a little bit more and see how we go. That cleaned up a lot better than I expected. So the next thing we're going to do now is check the ring gap. 0.009 is our minimum gap, and that is perfect. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove all the valves out of the head so we can give it a good clean up. Get everything sealing properly before putting it back together. Alright, so we've chucked all the parts through the sandblaster and got them all looking good. So the next thing we're going to do is lap in the valves. So we're just using a bit of cutting compound here. We'll chuck it in, start lapping it in. Next we've got some bearing glue we're just going to put on the seat, put in position and just test, make sure we're sealing all the way around. Alright, looking good. Now we'll do the same with the exhaust port. Now we've got a tub of petrol. We're just going to give the parts one last clean through, get them all nice and clean, free of any sand from the sandblasting process and everything else, and then they'll be all ready for reassembly. Remove the old valve stem seals and replace them with some new ones. You have two shims that go underneath the valve springs. Got to get these valve collets back in position. It can be a little bit tricky. Once they're in, you want to make sure they're seated correctly, otherwise when you release the spring it's going to pop. Excuse the children in the background. I think we got it. Alright, we're going to remove the gear shift so we can take the side cover off, get to the flywheel so we can replace the cam chain. Got an XR200 that you're working on, you need a flywheel puller. Apparently the axle is the same size as the puller, so we're going to test that theory. Well, here we are, moment of truth. Chuck a bit on. Lube. Winder on up. 17mm socket. Bob's your auntie. Alright, so there you go. If you've got an XR200 and you don't have a flywheel puller, just remember, grab your wheel axle, screw her on in, give her an impact, and off she'll come. Alright, next thing we want to do is get the cam chain out. So should just have to remove this cam tensioner here. chain should just come straight on out of there. Now install a new chain. Sit the tensioner back in place, making sure it sits in correctly. Next you'll want to be installing the base gasket. Ensure you get the cam guide and chain through the gasket correctly and slide it down nicely. Next thing you have to do is fit all the piston rings, so I like to install them all at once, ensuring that the marks on the piston rings all face to the top. Then once they're installed, then we can manoeuvre the piston ring gaps into position, which I'll put a diagram up on the screen to show you the positioning for the piston rings. Place one of the gudgeon clips in place. Oil up the gudgeon pin. And slide the gudgeon into position until it seats into the gudgeon clip that's already located. Then put your other gudgeon clip in place. Rub some engine oil into the bore. If you have a ring compressor, installing the piston would be made a lot easier. You're going to want to fit the second chain guide, then we can go ahead and fit the head gasket. Now we can seat the head. Leave the cam bearing. Ensure the timing marks are all located. As you can see, there's a timing mark on the case and on the flywheel that needs to line up. Lube up the cam. Now we've got to put the cam gear, ensure the markings for the timing, correct position, aligning with the flywheel timing. Don't do what I do and forget this bolt. Alright, so you're going to want to tension up the head bolts to 27 to 31 foot-pounds. I like to do this in two stages, so I'll half that, do the first run, and then do the second run at spec. Put a new O-ring on the stator cover. Clip up the wiring harness. Reinstall the motor. Tighten up all the engine mounts. Refit the CDI unit. Reconnect the wiring. Check the spark. Reconnect decompression. Reconnect the spark plug. Refit the carby. Pull the oil strainer and clean it. Refit the exhaust gasket. refit the exhaust. Top her up with some new oil. Put some fresh fuel. Would like to say it was a success, but there was some massive jetting to do with this as it came with 2 carbies. I had to work out which one to use and then rejet, but we got there in the end. Seems to be riding really well, but would like to get the idle a little bit better, so we tuned it up a little bit more. Now time for a break-in. Alright guys, so there you go, she fired up and she runs really well. As a matter of fact, it runs that good. The young lad's asked if he can have it. So I originally bought it because I was going to just flip the bike, fix it up and flip it. So if you enjoyed the video though, seeing how we got it running and everything else, don't forget to come back again, because we're going to be doing a part 2 of this video where we're going to start cleaning this thing up, make it all look nice and pretty for him. So we thank you for watching our videos. Please don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and set your notifications for upcoming videos. Stay safe and we'll catch you next time.